Hello, guys. This is Jeremy from the Scientific Gamers. Joining me today is Chris. We're going to get to know each other a little bit today. Ain't that right, Chris?
Very intimately.
So, the goal of this podcast is initially, whenever we have a new guest, we're just going to kind of start with the topic of tell me a little bit about yourself. Why should the people care, Chris? Why should the people care?
Well, I'm not sure why they should care. But I can tell you why I care about me.
Tell me about your background. Where did we meet? What's your education? Why are you a scientific gamer?
All right. Well, where we met at University of Laverne, where we were both doing our undergrad. We had a couple classes our freshman year, but we didn't really start to become friends until, I'd say, like spring semester of freshman year, after the Avengers came out. And we started talking about it
Was it English?
English 112.
Yeah, you'd always get there so fucking early. A little nerd, dude. I would too, but I would get there 10, 15 minutes early, and you'd be there like 20 minutes early.
That's because we both dropped out of plant bio.
That's true.
At the same time.
That's also a bonding issue, bonding moment.
We all quit the same class at the same time. But anyway, so we started talking, and then we got a little bit closer at the end of our sophomore year, spring semester again, when we took anatomy, and we just owned it with all of our background. At the time, I was an EMT. Yep. And Jeremy already had his nursing experience, so we just embarrassed everyone in the anatomy class.
Yeah. Oh, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And so then after that, we continued on and remained friends throughout all of undergrad. We formed a study group with two other interesting characters.
Yeah. Maybe in the off chance we'll get to interview them one day, right?
Yeah. That's why I got to be real careful what you say now.
So, this kind of leads in. It's like, why are you being careful to what you say, Chris? Because you're trying to become a...
Well, I'm on track to become an emergency physician as well as an anesthesiologist. After completing my undergrad at Laverne, went on to paramedic school where I graduated at the top of my class.
Oh, look at stroke it, right? Yeah.
Hey, man. They don't give those academic excellence awards out for nothing.
So one of the reasons that you went for paramedic is one, because unfortunately in the first round you didn't get into med school. Right. And, all of us didn't graduate with the best GPAs. Some of us had okay, but unfortunately, if you're a prospecting med student, you realize that if you have a 3.5 or below, you're on the bottom of the totem pole unless you score sky high on the MCAT.
Which unfortunately I didn't. My GPA was okay. And then my MCAT was a little bit above average, but nowhere near good enough to get me into medical school. So I was always interested in emergency medicine and I loved being an EMT. And so becoming a paramedic was the next step. Yeah. So now it looks like the next step of this journey is going to be going on to graduate school to complete a master's in biomedical sciences because apparently being a paramedic isn't good enough either.
Once we get viewers, if you guys are interested, we could have an entire podcast that's probably 3 hours long. Literally just talking about the whole med school process, and actually I feel that there might be a huge audience that would be interested because, they get, what is it? Last statistic I read, probably 2015 or earlier, around that time point, was every single med school across the United States gets 55,000 applicants on average.
I would say, well, when you look at the entire application cycle, there's last numbers I looked at where I want to say about 47 to 49,000 for the entire country, but they only accepted 22 to 24,000.
Yeah, so, that's right. So 55,000 people in general apply, not per school.
Okay. The numbers per school are varied anywhere from 200 to 300 at some of these very small state schools in the South, all the way up to 15,000 for some of the schools in DC. So, but either way, it's less than a 40% acceptance rate for just any given medical school. Yeah, the individual medical school has about 0.5% to 3% acceptance rate. Yeah. So it's insanely competitive, and if you don't have some kind of stellar resume, which unfortunately I didn't,
have ties in it, networking is key.
Daddy donating money to the library really helps. But if not, if you're like the average everyday person, you really need to kind of find ways to set yourself apart. So we'd love to have a podcast explaining all that.
Yeah, let us know if you guys want it. But So yeah, we graduated from University of Laverne. What was your degree in?
My degree was in biology with an emphasis in pre-medical health sciences.
Yeah, so with the thousands of other people that have tried to do that and are all
it was very unique and very different from what everyone else in the nation wants to do. So, but it was a good time. We became BFFs. We made lots of good friends, and we have a third one that we need to get on the show.
I know, he was supposed to be here today. His name's Fernando, and he's probably going to be watching this, so fuck you, Fernando. Where are you, bro?
Thanks, bro.
I know, right? But
I was looking forward to this.
You could have been here. I slaved him away. We've actually, this room that we're in right now, you might notice the wall looks like shit. Don't worry, it'll be painted eventually.
It's literal shit.
But this room was actually full with all kinds of shit. And we spent, from the moment I got up this morning at 9 o'clock, I get it, for some of you older people that get up at like 6 a.m. I'm sorry, man. I like getting up late. But anyways.
That's late. I got up at 1 in the afternoon today.
Well, you work like 12-hour shifts on random days. So, maybe not yesterday, but for the sake of this podcast, you worked yesterday, right?
Yes. The night is a very dark time for me.
But, so this room was full to the ceiling of stuff. And I said this morning or last night, I want to make this the recording studio for my channel going forward. And we spent like almost the last 12 hours. It's about 9 o'clock right now. 9 to 9, essentially. And we've got it clear enough to where we could be in here and do this podcast with a little bit of echo. We'll fix that in the future. But
the magic of editing.
Oh, God, right. Wonders. Yeah, we'll see. I didn't get a degree in programming, so I'm sorry, guys.
Don't worry. We'll find someone who can help us out.
Right,
I'm sure there's someone in this general population that knows what to do.
But so you started as an EMT, and then of course medical school didn't work out the first round, and then why not go paramedic? Move it up, make more money, blah blah blah, and then biomedical science master's degree is a potential path, right?
It's looking like that's what the next train of thought or the next path is going to be for me, probably through one of the Colorado universities. I'm not sure yet. I'm still trying to figure stuff out. I mean, I'm just getting used to not being out of school, which is definitely a change and adjustment, just working. So I'm enjoying that and just trying to figure out what exactly is going to be the next step, because I'm sure many of you know, or as many of you have, student debt, and that's no joke. So don't want to add more to that if I don't have to. So I've got to be smart with my next decision. But yeah, it's definitely a smart idea as far as going to a master's program to boost or bolster your application.
Yeah, that is if you're less than stellar. Exactly. Not less than stellar, because I hate saying that.
But I mean, it's crazy. It's like almost everyone is qualified, everyone is competent, everyone could do it. But it's setting yourself apart.
Exactly. Because everyone is trying to do that, right? So everyone's trying to go to med school, do this shit. Yeah. So literally a 3.6, 3.7 doesn't even cut it. It really doesn't, right? Even if you have a decent MCAT score, that's still hardly covered. It's just... I'm sorry for you guys that are struggling. I hope you're doing your research extensively if you're trying to get into med school or PA school. School, people think that...
competitive as well.
Yeah, extremely. If almost as competitive, I would say. Not...
it's different. It's just there are fewer schools and fewer options. But I feel like... I mean, I don't know. I don't have any numbers, but it just seems like, at least from the general consensus from of the people who we talked to who applied to PA schools, they only applied local, and they only applied to a few schools. So they didn't have a very wide net to cast. So maybe that has something to do with it too. They don't want to go out of state. They don't want to go out of their area. Yeah,
and we should say we're in California, so we're in the hub of the best schools essentially in the nation. And so as a result, so by that location, right? The competition is fierce. Competition is fierce. Everyone wants to come here. So I think one way I'll wrap this up without going too deep into it, because like I said, maybe one day we'll have a whole podcast talking about this. But what is maybe one or two pieces of advice? Because I'm assuming people that are here are looking for, if they're looking for scientific gamers, right? Might be pursuing the sciences themselves, whether medicine or whatever. What would be your... As potential med students in our audience, what would be your one or two advices
for applicants for medical school?
Going through this hellish process, still actively going through this process,
Well, I feel like the first piece is probably advice you've heard, and it'll also depend on how far along you are in the process. If you're at the beginning of college, if you're just starting, obviously you gotta not take any of your classes lightly, which is one of the mistakes I did. I had a hard time adjusting to the college lifestyle, and really buckling down, and also like starting to look at the kind of programs that you want to go to early on. Look and see what they require, and also get involved with something in clinical medicine or research that interests you. Don't just do some type of shadowing just to put it on your resume, even though you could care less about radiology, but your family friend is a radiologist, so you just said, okay, whatever, I'm gonna follow them, and you hate it, but you keep doing it. While the experience and the exposure is good, try and find something else too that you really enjoy that you can fall back on if you don't get into medical school the first time around, like I did. With emergency medical services, EMS, being an EMT, that was an eye-opening experience for me, and it really sparked my passion for medicine, specifically emergency medicine. And so then I had paramedic school to fall back on right after I graduated. So I went straight from undergrad to paramedic school. And now, I mean, it's beneficial for me because I'm making way more money than I was as an EMT, and I still love the field. I love the abilities and the clinical exposure that I have had as a paramedic.
Yeah, I can't stress enough that the financial stability of it, right? We're all graduating with insane amount of debt. Insane amount of debt, right? So from going to Laverne alone, I accumulated $70,000. And I went in with a 4.0, guys. From nursing school to undergraduate school, or another degree, I should say, right? I accumulated $70,000. You accumulated $60,000.
Yeah, $60,000.
So, and just to put it into perspective, one day you guys will interview me, and these same questions is, I've got $70,000 in debt, and I work in the environmental science division. I run a food lab specifically in microbiology, and let me tell you, it doesn't pay. It pays. What I will say, the average American median salary, I make it as a single person. So
living above the poverty limit.
I live above the poverty limit and the average, right, in terms of financial income. However, I live in California and I have $70,000 in debt.
Yeah. So you're really not doing well.
Yeah. So even if you don't get into med school, do what he did.
Yeah.
Because not only is he getting experience, in paramedic, in the medical field, knowing what he's getting into, and the worst of it, arguably, I'd say the worst of it. Maybe CNA is worse.
Yeah, CNN.
CNN, yes. CNN, pretty bad. CNN is pretty fucking terrible. But that's a whole nother. Maybe that's a whole podcast.
Yeah,
we'll
have to try and stay out of politics.
No, we're not going there. I'm sure just saying fake news right now, people are fucking screaming. But anyway.
But anyway, the emergency medical scene is it's an interesting one to say the least. It's unique, and it's never the same thing twice, so that's fun. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's good at clinical exposure, but probably biggest piece of advice is if you want to become a doctor, if you want to have some kind of position in the medical field, never stop until you've reached your goals. It's going to take you sometimes several years to be able to get into the program or to the school of your choice. But if it's really what you want, then don't give up until you've achieved your goal. And honestly, persistence really does pay off.
Not yet for you, but you are.
Yeah.
Well, and what I mean, no, you're in a great place in that you're making a lot more money than I am. Right. You are, right?
Yeah.
You're working your way up, while also getting experience in the medical field that will ultimately get you into med school at some fucking point. You know?
It's just, it's too easy to just say, oh, I didn't get in the first time. I found something else that I kind of like, but I'll just do that. But if that's not where your heart is, I mean, hey, if you find something else, that's awesome, whatever, that pursue that. But if you still, at night you think, all right, I want to be a doctor. Like, I still have that fire. I want to be a PA. I want to be whatever, dentist. Mm-hmm. You still have that fire. Don't ever stop until you've reached it. Because trust me, it's like admissions panels, they love seeing dedication as well as improvement. That's the other thing. You have to improve every year. Yeah. Don't just keep applying with the same stats.
Yeah, that gosh, this can go forever, but here's the last note. Note. If you don't get in, constantly improve your resume, right? Don't just get a job, like a regular job 9 to 5, unless, of course, if you have to pay bills, do that. Yeah. But what I mean is, if you are going to get a job, make sure it's a job in medicine, or you're also doing shadowing if it's just a regular 9 to 5 job, right? You can work in retail, whatever you got to do to pay the bills. But you need to be doing something that you weren't doing before, because if you just keep doing the same thing with a regular job, you're just the same applicant. That's the best, right?
Yeah,
you need to improve yourself.
And they're like, you weren't good enough last year with the same stats. Yeah. Why are you good enough this year when you haven't changed anything? Nothing is different, you know. But also don't just do, I volunteer 10 hours at this place just because I wanted to volunteer. Like, no, they're not going to care about that either. They want to see someone who's found something that they're passionate about, some kind of community service or, clinical experience that they've remained dedicated to, that has impacted them in a meaningful way, and they're sticking to it. They want to see determination. They want to see dedication. Yeah. So... yeah, well, like you said, I mean, we could do an entire podcast on...
This is good because this is getting to know you going forward when we have you on again.
Exactly.
You get involved in other projects. So that was the scientific part. So let's talk about the gamer part. So
all right.
What are, and I already know people are going to cringe at this, but what are typically the games that you like to play?
Well, I mean, it's actually nice being out of school. Now it's one of the first times I'm able to play at a relatively normal rate again, but... of course, the cliche, Call of Duties, Battlefronts, Battlefield, what else? Assassin's Creed, but I have fallen off that bandwagon.
For good reason.
Yeah, I really wanted to like Unity. I mean,
I told you.
I didn't want to believe that it was horrible, but I played it. And I was like, this game is bullshit. It sucks. Yeah. And so I got Syndicate right away, but I still haven't.
But you're still burned. You're still burned.
Exactly.
Off Unity.
Yeah, but of course, Arkham series.
Batman.
Lord of the Rings, Shadow of Mordor. I love
those
that.
Those are good.
That was fun. With Tomb Raider, I still need to start that one.
There's a lot of internet fucking haters out there, but in general, you play games that are huge franchises
that are popular,
sell very well, et cetera, et cetera. And but in general, you're not one to be like, where's the Japanese RPG or where you don't have you don't play the more obscure games. So in that, just so the audience has a way to categorize you, aside from just being like, you only play like COD and like I don't know what they call you nowadays, but more of a casual player, right? You're not buying every game that comes out like myself, being irresponsible with money.
Exactly. I didn't even know about the Nintendo Switch until tonight.
Yeah, Switch. That's going to go. You just kind of transitioned perfectly. So we know you're so. Here's closing this segment. You're a prospective. A prospect for the medical field. You work in medicine, and you're a casual gamer. Yes, so with that, we'll go on to the next topic.